Hey, what's up, YouTube? I know this getup might seem a little bit unusual, um, but you'll understand why I'm dressed like this very soon. And today I'm going back to my other glasses because they're more like regular sunglasses. And I have some show and tell. Okay, first of all, here's a lei that I bought at the dollar store one day. And I have what I've wanted for a long time, which is Island Princess Angelitiki. Okay, basically, this is my show and tell, and she's basically just a totally Angelica doll. Like, she's posable, unlike the others, they're just plush dolls. But she's more like a Barbie doll of sorts, in that she moves and you can put her in the water and everything, which I had to basically in order to wash the tangles out of her hair with fabric softener and conditioner. And she has a little lei of her own, but she basically, I got her on eBay for a pretty good price. I was not expecting to win the auction or the best offer, but basically what happened was I offered a lower price and they put a counter offer, meaning that something in between, the price that they really wanted and the price that I wanted. So basically I got her for a lot less than I was expecting. So and I actually fixed her hair. It was a mess, but I think that's a small bit of effort to have to put out for a doll that costs less than a mint condition one. So basically there's Angelitiki, or the closest thing you can get to a Rugrats Go Wild Angelica doll, because they just didn't make a lot of merchandise for that movie, because unfortunately it did so poorly, which I don't understand. And she's got a bathing suit under there, so she's not in her sailor dress, which is basically what I want to talk about in this video. Well, what I want to title this video is, or maybe not title it, just put it in the description, that cartoon characters do not actually have bodily functions. Okay, I would like to clarify the fact that I really don't actually believe cartoon characters have bodily functions. Okay, I'm not that stupid. Okay, and so what I want to talk about is how, the truth of the matter is, okay, cartoon characters don't actually poop. We all know that. I mean, that goes for every character from Dill to Tommy to every other cartoon in the world, okay? All those characters that poop their pants on various shows, well, I mean, we all know the truth. We all know that they're actually a cartoon. And, they're just a drawing on a piece of paper. They're going to be every bit as much of a baby, say, 50 years from now, if someone draws them that way, as they are today. So there's no delusion in my mind that they have actual bowel functions. However, that being said, in the truest sense that a cartoon character really can poop their pants, there are many that have. And as a result, when I find out that a show has a lot of that content on it, or, associated with it, it really makes me not want to get involved in it. Because I've learned from past experience that, getting involved in such shows becomes an unhealthy obsession, as you've just seen. I become obsessed with it, and then when people try to deny it, I become obsessed with proving my point. And it just causes a lot of hard feelings. And so as a result, I've gotten to a point where, I've just basically seen all I ever really want to see of cartoon babies in particular crapping their pants. And I mean, it was great, during the 12 years that Rugrats lasted, to have as many incidents as they did, which I've talked about before. But I'm just to a point now in my life. I mean, you don't even realize I'm going to be 37 this summer. I mean, that just couldn't be more depressing. Yet still as obsessed with those incidents as I was when they actually happened on TV. So yeah, I just, it's almost like your mind just gets to a point where you just can't take it anymore. Like you just, it just says enough is what I'm trying to say. I mean, like, I mean, it's always, well, as far back as I can remember, they've always had such things in cartoons and movies, and it's almost like their attempt to be edgy. It kind of, it's been a progression, over the past, say, 50 years or maybe even closer to 100 years since cartoons started being made. You start off like in one place with the wholesome 1920s and 30s and all that. Way back, I guess, during and even before World War II, when the original Mickey Mouse came on the screen, which used to be my favorite cartoon character when I was the age of the Rugrats, and they didn't exist yet. Mickey and Minnie, they were my favorite cartoons in the 80s, I'd have to say. And I didn't necessarily watch them, I just liked them. I just liked clothing and things that had Mickey Mouse. But you go from like a wholesome era, like I had talked about several weeks ago, or maybe even in early March, about how, you had the more wholesome era of, way back when my parents were young, Mickey Mouse, the Flintstones, and, just old-timey cartoons where, as far as I know, they didn't have any mention of bodily functions. And, it was kind of like in the does not exist category, whether the character was a newborn or an old person, it didn't matter, or anything in between, male or female, black or white, it just didn't really matter what kind of a character it was. Even an animal usually didn't mention their bodily functions. So yeah, it was kind of like a taboo. So you go from that, and a time when, although they may have not been drawn very realistically, they had a certain clean, classy look about it. Like, I don't know how to explain it. They tried to look like, if there were human characters, they tried to be as realistic as possible with them. They may have not been exactly like a real human, but they looked somewhat realistic. Like, I'm thinking of the old Disney movies. And so as you progressed, I'd have to say, like, the Flintstones are one end of the spectrum, for wholesomeness and good drawings. And then as you progress in time, you get to the 90s with the Rugrats, and then all the other Klasky Supo shows, like the Thornberrys and As Told by Ginger. They're all, made by the same company. And so in the middle, you have that sort of cartoon in the 90s, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you have things like that I don't even want to get involved in watching, like the Loud House, and to an extent, I just can't get into Odd Parents, and a lot of the post-2000 modern era of cartoons, I just can't even stand it, because it's like what little I know about it. And of course, I'm not even going to think about, The Simpsons and Family Guy and American Dad and things that are not even children's cartoons to begin with, South Park, things that are adult, just like I didn't care about Beavis in the 90s. But, so basically, you have like one end of the spectrum where it's just so wholesome that, it's just, no mention whatsoever of bodily functions. And then you have this new thing, which I'm not exactly sure, what's with this new thing about when they want to have a character pooping in a diaper. This thing about blowing up the diaper, as I call it, where they do a big old fart, and then the diaper just suddenly, I don't know, it just becomes several times the size that it was, and like, you know, like a big exaggerated fart, and they'll have the diaper get like huge, and then you'll have an enormous green cloud coming from the character's butt, and then everybody's like commenting on the smell like as if a bomb went off. Well, I find that that's the other extreme from no mention whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go from like cartoons, like I said, in the 50s and 60s, and all the way on into the 80s, where you would never have heard anything about the character's bodily functions. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you know, you have this, from what little I've seen of Loud House, which I'm sure you can imagine what few scenes I have Googled or searched for. So you'll have like that end of the spectrum, and you know, Rugrats was just somewhere in between. It was kind of like in that transitory period of getting into stuff like that, if you know what I mean. Like they didn't, and I think it was actually the perfect level of that. You know, and the same thing, you know, with As Told by Ginger and other cartoons like it, where, you know, people would clearly have accidents on the show, but it was more realistic in a sense, you know. I mean, because let's face it, unless you got the camera right up somebody's butt, you know, you could be looking at somebody and not even know they crapped their pants. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it was kind of, you know, in between that level of, you know, extreme gross out to a ridiculous extent, you know, with like Loud House and all that stuff, or Family Guy, and, you know, but it wasn't like where bodily functions just didn't exist. So yeah, and it's like, and that's why it just makes me so mad. You know, people will try to deny it. They'll try to say like, you know, that some characters on Rugrats never crapped their pants. Well, of course the parents didn't, but like I said, all 7 of the main kids crapped their pants at least once, and so yeah, it's like, you know, but you see, like I said, they were never really graphic about it. It's like it's there, it's clearly there, plain as day, you know. I mean, it is there. The fact that they crap their pants, to me, it's irrefutable. Like, I don't know how anyone could watch Rugrats Go Wild and try to tell me that Angelica did not crap her pants. So yeah, it's like, it's clearly there, but it's not to the extent of, you know, blowing up the diaper, you know, like these modern cartoons where, like I just said, the baby will do an enormous, ridiculous fart, and then the diaper will just, you know, blow up like a balloon, and then you'll have these ridiculous green clouds, which of course don't occur in real life. And, you know, it just makes me so mad that, you know, people want to deny, you know, that they just want to deny things like Angelica literally crapped her pants on Rugrats Go Wild. You know, and I mean, I would not have spent that much money, you know, and so much time obsessed with the movie were I not 100% sure that she did, you know, which is the whole reason I'm obsessed with it. You know, if I were like 99% sure, which of course the 100% comes from the fact that she is a cartoon character, and, you know, you can't disprove something in a cartoon because, I mean, like I say, I mean, how do we even know she even wears panties in the first place? You know what I'm saying?